Hi, Alison here. Just a really sort of quick overview introduction of leader categorization, leader prototypicality, and then we'll move into intersectionality. These topics are really important for your leader analysis assignment because you need to consider how a leader is perceived, how we sort of expect them to behave. And so these things can really act like a frame over someone's leadership or a lens through which we can view their leadership. So leader categorization, we know that our brain loves to make shortcuts, loves to summarize, generalize, stereotype. And it's like that with leadership as well. Leaders that we have seen, heard about, worked for, worked with, these all have like an imprint and we recall their attributes. Over time, we sort of generate what's called an implicit leadership theory or a leader prototype, what a good leader looks like to us. So our brain remembers these categorizations and it becomes like a prototype from which we then compare other leaders. For example, I've been working in an organization for a while and every leader I've had has had similar attributes, similar personalities, similar ways of leading. And I believe them to have been good leaders. This paints a picture for me. It creates like a prototype of what a good leader should be. And then I move into a new department, I move into a new organization, I have a new leader. And then I actually view that leader from the perspective of my leader prototype. And everyone has their own leader prototype. It depends on your experiences. It depends on the leaders you've known, you've dealt with, leaders that you've seen in the public eye. So just an example. Now, I've grown up in Australia. I've seen all of these prime ministers. Over the years, my view, my prototype of what a prime minister looks like is shaped by these prime ministers that I have seen throughout my lifetime. Just looking at general characteristics, demographics, because we don't tend to get to know prime ministers personally. We don't really know what they're like, their attributes. So based on demographic factors, you can clearly see that there is a pattern. We can kind of group them together, summarize that largely Australian prime ministers have been of a similar race, mostly a similar gender, and largely around that sort of same age. So when Anthony Albanese became the prime minister at the last election, I looked at him based on my leader prototype that I had built through years of seeing prime ministers. And he fits in. He looks just like the other prime ministers. So to me, he looks like leader material. Now, the reason I wanted to specifically talk about demographics when it came to leader categorization is that in your leader analysis assignment, you need to look at the demographics of the leader that you're analyzing. In the academic literature, which you're going to have to delve into to find out, there are a range of literature, theories, studies, based on these demographic factors. There might be studies about age that suggest that people perceive a younger leader to be less competent than an older leader based on the amount of experience that leader would have had given their older age. Gender as well. We make assumptions and stereotype leaders based on gender. So we assume male leaders are going to be strong, firm, confident. And then we make assumptions about female leaders that they're going to be caring and empathetic and that sort of softer side. So these are the things that you really need to think about and do some research into based on the leader that you've selected. But I really wanted to highlight here the concept of intersectionality. And that's where these demographic factors kind of overlap and create an additional effect. So demographics are things that we can use to stereotype people, generalize. They can also provide a level of power or privilege. So if you come from quite a high socioeconomic status, highly educated, they might positively influence your ability to become a leader. You know, greater education, more opportunities, social network, that kind of thing. They can also present challenges for leaders because we stereotype and marginalize people. People might not be perceived as leader material, and that might present a challenge or a disadvantage for them. So there's the initial effect of, say, race. Then there is an additional effect of gender. But then there is an additional third effect, which is the intersection of race and gender together. In your leader analysis, you need to present this contextual framing, and it's different than the theoretical framing. So the theoretical framing really is related to the framework that you've chosen to analyze your leader. You might be looking at servant leadership, transformational, ethical, authentic, whatever you decide. That's the theoretical framing. We also need to look at the contextual framing. So how is this leader perceived? How do we expect this leader to behave based on those demographic and contextual factors? And just a couple of examples here. You're integrating examples from the media to support your analysis. And this is a really great way to think about how is a leader portrayed based on these factors. For example, Jacinda Ardern, she's a young female leader. Is the way she's presented in the media the same as an older male leader? Or do these factors have an influence on how she's portrayed? Additionally, social media is an excellent place to gain evidence for your analysis. Often leaders' followers exist and interact with them on social media. So you will sometimes see in the comments opposing views and supporting views. Why is this group of followers supportive of this leader? Why is this group of followers against this leader? So all of these things need to come into your analysis. So lots of reading. There are a number of resources available on Moodle for you to learn more, to get some ideas for how you can bring in that contextual framing for your leader analysis.